Fire of Salvation. Those who have joined Grand Exemplar Michael Kreoss in battle have fought alongside this peerless machine, described its dedication and loyalty as if speaking of another soldier of the faith, rather than a creation of iron and steel. Indeed, the eyes of the Ariat Crusader carry the weight of presence more akin to the Zealots than to the soulless construct. Its fervent wrath strikes terror in unbelievers and kindless rapture in the followers of the true law, as they witness the fiery mace absolver incinerate entire ranks of heathens. Driven to vengeance by the dying of the faithful around it, Fire of Salvation swings its flame-wreathed weapons until every foe lies shattered and burned. Menites of other nations who have witnessed the righteous fury have been known to fall to their knees, lay down their weapons, and forsake old loyalties. Groveling before the Grand Exemplar, they beg him to restrain this relentless Warjack from executing its just punishments. The choir of priests attending the Fire of Salvation know every detail of its chassis. Each rod, piston, and steel stands as part of a proud legacy, and the Warjack's densely inscribed surfaces reveal the long and storied history of its participation in the wars of the Protectorate. After every battle, armorers etch new lines in the layers of plated steel to describe its mighty deeds. Kreoss and Fire of Salvation fought in some of the most dangerous actions in the early days of the Siege of Seoul, often alongside just a handful of exemplars. Few knights survived these desperate rearguard actions, and Kreoss himself would surely have died if it not had been for his favorite Warjack. Time and again, Fire of Salvation stood between the retreating Menites and the crushing Signarin trenchers and Storm Knights. Its whole already a memoir of Caspia's soul conflict, Fire of Salvation armor was further ornamented in the days after Hierarch Voil's death. Its armor plates tell of countless battles through which it has preserved alongside Kreoss as the Protectorate pushed back the invading Signarns and laid siege to Caspia. The vaunted Crusader and its master fought their way through the press of heretics again and again, inspiring the other exemplars to follow. Though its cortex and weaponry are more recent design, several of the Jack's armored plates once protected machines that fought in the original Protectorate Crusades, those bloody battles that fought conversions or death to the savage Idrians who foolishly opposed Menoth's will. Many of those Warjacks were left in the southern sands after their destruction in battles north of Iktir, including the desperate last stand where Hierarch Luctine fell in 521 AR. Lying for decades in blessed proximity to Luctine, these artifacts were imbued with the sanctity whose strength is almost palpable. The priest of Seoul considered it only proper that such relics should gird a Warjack that fought faithfully alongside Grand Exemplar Kreoss since his earliest days of service to the Protectorate. During the ceremony where Kreoss was promoted to Grand Exemplar in 605 AR, priest affixed these plates along with blessed parchment illuminated with passages of the canon of the true law onto its chassis. These formalized and recognized the sanctity of Fire of Salvation has earned by righteous conflict while fighting alongside its master. Fire of Salvation has learned much from the fighting alongside Kreoss for 2 decades, and it echoes his footsteps in battle. Its presence inspires his Knights Exemplar who welcome it to their engagements. It fights as fiercely as a brother knight, seeming to become enraged at the sight of allies laid low and moving to intercept enemies and deliver blazing retribution. The Fire of Salvation, a very old Warjack with very, very much older armor. I can see why this guy is terrifying, because you don't usually see too many Jacks outside of Kodor that are older than 20 years. And I imagine with every script that has been written on this guy, that really does kind of show its age and how dangerous it is, and probably how much more experienced its cortex is probably at fighting, making it the perfect melee combatant to fight alongside Kreoss in battle. So, but let's see how dangerous this guy actually is with our Mark 3 to Mark 4 changes. See what he gets from Kreoss, see what he just does on his own, and see how this old Jack still finds out how to do new tricks. And as always, let's start with his stat line. He is a large Warjack, so he has all these standard abilities of Slam, Trample, and Headbutt. He has a Speed 5, a Mat of 8, a Defense 10, and an Armor of 19. So nothing changed there. Pretty basic heavy Warjack. And it looks like in his abilities, his bond actually is the exact same as it was, making him super dangerous. So while bonded to Kreoss, he's not considered bonded under opponent's control and all that stuff with the bond. But what Kreoss gives him is Divine Inspiration. A model with Divine Inspiration gains an additional die to melee attack and damage rolls. You discard the lowest roll each time. So that pretty much makes sure that he's going to be pretty much hitting everything with his Mat 8. And yeah, that certainly shows his age, because it makes him even more accurate and hits even a little bit harder because of, you know, that's how dice work. So yeah, removing the lowest die out of 3 die is always going to be better than just rolling the 2. His other abilities he has normally are Relentless Charge. So while advancing as part of a charge, this model gains Pathfinder. Always makes movement for these large jacks even easier. And the last one he still has Righteous Vengeance. So if one or more friendly faction warrior models were destroyed or removed from play by an enemy attack while within 5 inches of this model during your last round, during its maintenance phase, this model can advance up to 3 and make an attack. So he can attack out of his activation, which for any Warjack being able to attack out of activation is phenomenal, and especially when we get down to his weapons, you'll see how much more dangerous that will become. But remember, with the Righteous Vengeance, it is by enemy attack. So if it was an attack, or if the attack states that it was not, if it's not part of an attack with the wording, that means that those don't count, such as somebody dying from fire continuous effect. So that is one of those things that would not do up. Although fire continuous effect, killing a Protectorate of Menoth probably is unlikely, but you know, that happens sometimes, I guess. But yeah, let's say corrosion. Yeah, corrosion sounds more like something that would kill a Protectorate. So, but let's go over his weapons. So we have his standard open fist. We're going to start with that because that's the easiest. It is a Mat 8, range 1, POW 15, so he's punching pretty dang hard. And then his fantastic melee weapon is Absolver. This is a Mat 8, range 1, POW 18, and it causes continuous fire damage. So when he gets to attack out of turn, if somebody kills somebody around him, they're getting hit with a Mat 8, 18, and with his ability that gives Divine Inspiration, he is adding an additional die, kicking out the lowest die to make sure whatever he's trying to hit is going to be hit. So yeah, that is a terrifying thing, but there's more. He has Dispel on this weapon as well. So not only does he catch you on fire, but he also removes any upkeep spells and animize on that model/unit hit. So as of course Dispel, when this model or when this weapon hits a model/unit, upkeep spells and animi on that model immediately expire. So if they had an armor buff, a defense buff, whatever buff that they were getting, he removes it, and he probably just annihilated whoever he just hit with that POW 18, and that's before his even activation begins. So yeah, he is a very, very dangerous Jack who has one specific task, and that's to get in there, weather some damage, and then throw out as much damage onto the enemy as possible. And if they're killing his own men, it just makes him matter. So yeah, I should see Kreoss running with this guy anytime that Kreoss is played, because this guy is a melee beast.